But what I will not do, because I don't want to put myself at risk and I don't want to put my company at risk, I will not say necessarily that I'm sorry because I don't know what the problem really is. We had one guy who went on our Facebook page who was tearing us a new one that we weren't giving him the customer service that he deserved. Come to find out, this guy bought a Corvette. He bought a yellow one, but he wanted red. So he thought by buying the yellow car, we would paint it for free. Like, no. That's not how this works. So there are some, like we were talking about before, the 4-letter word, risk. We don't answer every other question. We look for people who have a problem that we can solve or have a question and we answer it. We don't get to everything because we're human and there's no way other than manual to look at Facebook, but with Twitter, we'll answer you on Twitter. You know, we've got searches, we have ways of finding you if you say something about GM. So if you have a problem on Twitter, rest assured, we'll get to that.
Speaking of problems with cars, Toyota, obviously, do you guys, Toyota had the massive recall and it was all over the social media, the social web. You're obviously listening. How much listening do you do and monitoring of competitors and seeing what everyone else is doing?
I'll answer and then I'll hand it over to Andrea so she can give the Holden perspective. But, you know, we look constantly at what Ford is doing, what Honda is doing, what Toyota is doing, because that's how we learn, right? We're all in the same industry together. You know, Scott Monty at Ford in the US does an incredible job managing his community. So, you know, we've got a strong relationship with him. We often tweet one another. So building relationships within your own industry is really important. With the Toyota incident in particular, we made a concerted effort on social and sent notes internally to say, don't go on there and say, haha, Toyota, now it's time to buy a Holden, or now it's time to buy a Chevy. That's just in bad taste. But what we did learn from Toyota is that they were deleting comments or not answering the community and the community's question and trying to control the news. And from our perspective, you know, we learned a lot from that. You learn a lot from watching people go through crisis and how they respond. And so with every opportunity, but not just in automotive, we look at benchmarking Starbucks. I think they have a fantastic social media policy and plan. Nike, amazing. So even though, you know, it's not as easy for me to sell you a pair of shoes as it is a car, there's things that we can learn about community management.
What I would say on recalls is that, you know, there's a huge communications, you know, we never want to do a recall, but sometimes we have to. There's a huge communications effort that goes into planning how we do that and how we reach out to those customers with impacted cars. So we've done a whole bunch of work by the time we're ready to recall a vehicle. And actually social media is a great way to respond to customers with queries. So we had a recall on Cruise a few months ago, and we had some people tweeting, and these people were people that I had reached out to previously because I'd noticed that they bought a Cruise and they tweeted about the fact that they had bought a Cruise. They were coming directly to me asking, you know, my Cruise was built within this range, does that mean it's going to get a recall? So I was able to access that communications information that we had pre-prepared and go back to that customer and say, you know, if it's within this build date, you're going to get a letter, this is the process, and address that query straight away. But again, we've learned a lot about how other companies handle recalls, and, you know, going quiet on your Facebook page for 3 months is probably not the best way to address issues like that.
And once again, that's a classic PR thing of being prepared in advance. It's just that everything moves a lot quicker, so it certainly augurs well for the PR industry to be involved in social media. Last question, and Annalise, you're not allowed to mention Nike or Starbucks. What other brands, or, you know, that you see, that you look at and think, geez, they're doing a really good job in social media, not necessarily automotive, but as you say, anything over and above Nike and Starbucks, and is there a reason why? And then Andrea.
Yeah, I've really been impressed with Legos. I think Legos does a fantastic job, and if we're looking at a benchmark for managing a Facebook community, they basically handed it over to some really great Lego enthusiasts and said, please, you know, you're managing this community fantastically. We would love to have you manage and talk about Legos, and they are now, you know, managing the corporate voice. I think that's beautiful. You know, of course, again, our industry is a little different than Legos or Nike, but I think Legos is doing a fantastic job listening to the community. Zappos in the US, which is a shoe distributor, I think if you're looking at a benchmark of a corporate presence, like one person as an entity, I think Zappos does an amazing job. Coca-Cola, Pepsi are doing great things. So yeah, there's tons to learn, but Legos, Starbucks is doing a great job, Nike, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, these are people that I look at every day. And my #1 resource, if I have to do a shout out, so let's see if anyone out there is listening, I love you, Mashable. Mashable.com, you are my favorite. So if you haven't checked it out, they're on Facebook and Twitter. I've pimped it out in every one of our sessions. I highly suggest you check out that site.
I would agree. A lot of the big brands are doing it really well and are addressing their communities and their communities' needs. I think a lot of the retailers, some of the Australian retailers are doing really well, and I sometimes feel very jealous of the fact that they can just put a tweet out that says this outfit or this outfit. So Supro, I think I like the way that they approach things. I think JJ's are doing some good stuff from an Australian point of view. Also keep an eye on what Telstra are doing. I think that the way that Telstra has integrated social media into its corporate communications is a really good lesson for me. So I'm kind of really interested in what they're doing.
Some great examples there. And who here reads Mashable regularly? Excellent, excellent. It's excellent, excellent. So much content. It's amazing. So much content. So we've come to the end, the close of the session. I'd just like to thank everyone for coming. Thank David Niger for doing the video. Once again, check out socialmediaclubmelbourne.com in the next day or so to check out the video and pass it around. Thank you to the guys at 24 Moons, awesome venue, and complete with bird noises wherever you go. A bit disconcerting in the toilet, I must say.
Appropriate for Twitter, right?
Very appropriate for Twitter. In fact, it's just for us. Come here on another night, there are no bird noises. But I'd like you to put your hands together and thank very much Annalisa Clean, General Motors, and Andrea Matthews from Holden. Thanks for coming. Check out the website. Our next one we have YouTube and a representative from VioCorp.